I am not getting a message that says it's recording. Oh, we are recording.
Yay, everybody.
Hi, welcome to the Office 365 Pulse. We have the whole team here this week after missing a couple of weeks because of craziness, but we are back. We have a pretty short update this week, I'm guessing because next week is Ignite. So next week will either be a short update week with a crazy update week the next week, or next week will be a crazy update week. Time will tell based on when they get things loaded into the roadmap. So we can kick it off. I'm going to go ahead and ask Tom to kick it off since the last couple of times we've taken his thunder. So Tom, we'll let you lead off. Tell us what's coming in development.
It'll only take one because there's not that many.
Well, thank you.
So I think I'm going to focus on the one where SharePoint Page Analytics, they're going to be allowing you to view rich page analytics on SharePoint pages, including page views, page viewers, and page traffic. The reason this one resonates with me is because I just recently did a Spark 1/1 Minute Office Magic tip about site statistics. And unfortunately, people go, oh, well, I want to be able to see how many people in these time periods did X, Y, Z. I'm like, site analytics in SharePoint basically suck. You get what you get, and any improvement is wonderful. So I'll be interested to see exactly what this ends up encompassing, and if it gives the people that I work for a little bit better chance to see more in-depth detail rather than just the surface that they tend to get right now. So I think that'll be a good thing.
Cool. I got one that I really like, and that's Word for Windows text predictions.
Yes.
So if you use Outlook on the web right now, it's already there. If you're typing in an email in Outlook in the web, you start typing, and then it starts to, if you start typing, I hope, it will be like, I hope. And then in light gray, it will be like, I hope you have a nice day, or something like that. And then you can just hit tab or enter, and then it's going to complete it for you. So it's text predictions based on what you're doing and what you're typing. I absolutely love them because it's pretty good at knowing what I'm about to say based on kind of what I'm typing or what I have been typing. So I really like that. So it's coming to Word. And as someone who types a lot of the same things over and over again, just in different documents, I have a feeling this is going to be very helpful to me. And it might be one of those features that while it's in the web, it might actually drive me to use the web more than the client. And so and I'm sure it's one of those features that will eventually come to the client, but I think it's interesting. It's going to be coming to the web first. So I'm excited about that. It is one of those features, though, that I think that when it first shows up, you have the potential to freak some people out. Like, why are there words here? So it's probably one of those ones that you might want to have some education for your users, just so they're not like, what the heck is happening? But a very cool feature that's in development. They say around March. So could be any day now. Maybe at Ignite. We'll see. So how about you, Tamara? What do you see in development?
I am excited about something that is coming out in an application that I actually rarely use, and that's Excel natural language queries in ideas. And what I think is so great about this is I don't use Excel very often, so I'm not very good with manipulating data. And this takes the need to totally understand Excel to get out of it the intelligence that you need and puts it in the vernacular. So it allows you to ask questions about your data, whether it's retrieving a specific fact or summarizing the data in your preferred way. For example, you can ask total number of products, top 10 products by sales, or even more complicated questions like what percentage of products have sales higher than 2000 in 2018. So it sounds like it's going to be fairly robust and it's going to be able to do those evaluations for you, where before you would have to be an Excel expert to get the data out of it. So I'm really excited about that. I'm looking forward to talking to Excel.
Yeah. Versus trying to massage it into your will.
The only other thing that I wanted to mention is that Planner is getting more labels.
Yes, so, that is cool.
yeah, it started with, I think, 6 or 7 labels, and people have been clamoring for more labels. So it's going up to 25 labels, and it's coming out for GCC High and DoD.
And I think that I saw one of the message center things come out where it was also for general rollout too. Because
Okay, great.
general rollout for us, we only have 6 unless I'm missing something. So I
Mhm.
think this is going to be across the board, even though it only says GCC, GCC High, and DoD
Well,
on this.
well, I think it's in development for GCC and DoD, but
Oh,
it's
and it's
rolling out
Got
for
it.
enterprises. So I think that's
Mhm.
because I think you're right, Tom. I think I saw that too. So I think it's
Yeah.
hitting enterprise cloud already, and then it's
That makes
coming
sense.
slowly behind for GCC and DoD because that's the way we roll.
Yeah, that's set for April 2021. So that's still a little ways out.
Yeah, and then a couple of other random ones for GCC and GCC High tenants, and that's going to come across Word, Outlook, and for the web and for like Androids and Macs, and that's going to be for dictation. So that's just some different things there. If you've been waiting for some of those features where you could dictate in those applications in the GCC and GCC H tenants, that's coming out in Word for both Outlook or Word for the web and in the Android clients. So that's coming out as well for that. So
Yeah,
Adam, what do you think? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, there was one that I actually am fairly excited about, but I guess we'll see where it comes through. So you guys know me, I basically am the admin for like 20 different organizations that I work with. So they're basically updating the admin center to have improvements in the service health dashboard and incident comms. And so my trick before this has been to get the Office 365 admin center on my phone, because you could subscribe to incidents there and get like push notifications on your phone, and that was the best way that I found to manage it. But they basically are acknowledging that they could do better. So with the service health dashboard, it's going to be a much simpler landing page. When you go there, the stuff's going to be very black and white in the sense of clear about if there's an incident, what's going on, what's happening with it. And the second part of their update on this I found was really cool. When an incident is going on, they tend to post big updates when stuff's happening. So you've always had to go out and fish through like an O365 status Twitter page or something like that to get more incremental updates. They basically said, in addition to the big updates, they're going to start doing incremental, smaller updates as well too. So I just see this as more communication. If you want to consume it, you can. And when you have a client that something's impacting them and it's the biggest thing in the world and there's a giant fire, you want every update you can get just so it shows that you're still aware of it and working on it and trying to get a resolution on it and stuff. So happy to see these updates. It's slated for April of this year. So I'll be interested to see when it comes out. And it's coming out across the board, GCC standard, GCC High, DoD, all that stuff.
Very cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Tom, why don't you take us into rolling out? So remember, this means it's starting to hit tenants. So you'll start to see it actually going live in the enterprise tenants or whatever tenant we specify. So take us away, Tom.
Yes, this is something that we actually saw hit our tenant this week, which was really cool. And that is on Microsoft Teams. They now have a history menu. So if you're in Teams, especially if you like live there and you're in multiple teams, you have to go to another team to check something. And then you're like, oh my God, where was I before? How do I get back to it? Well, now up in the upper left corner, much like on a browser where you have go back a screen, go forward a screen, you now have 2 arrows and you can go back a screen in Teams. Or if you click it, it'll actually give you a list of like 10 or so locations that you can go, oh, there's a location. I want to pick number 6 there and jump right to it. I think that is a freaking awesome thing. And especially if, again, you spend a lot of times in Teams, you don't want to have to try to dig through and find which of the 27 teams you need to dig into to get back to where you were before.
It's
You
really
just
cool.
go back a screen and there you go.
I don't think
that's
I've
awesome.
seen that yet. That's cool.
I'm very excited about it, though.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. All right, Tamara, what do you like in rolling out this week?
Oh, there's so many things to choose from, Jen. Microsoft Teams, the new file sharing experience. So what they're doing is they're streamlining sharing in Microsoft Teams. So now you can create a shareable link for any file stored in Teams and directly set the appropriate permissions. So additionally, you can also set permissions for files stored in SharePoint and OneDrive while composing a private chat or starting a channel conversation. So I thought it was pretty streamlined before. So it's going to get even better.
Well, I just think a lot of times too, they talked about the fact that file sharing in Teams wasn't really on par with file sharing in SharePoint or OneDrive or something. And now they're kind of bringing them closer together, which I think is a good thing.
Yep. Well, I was talking about this before, so I'll kind of talk about it again. But Outlook for Windows and Outlook for Android text predictions. So that's finishing rolling out. So you can get your suggestions. You're typing for it, and then it's going to finish it for you, and you can hit tab, and you'll have to type less. So those are continuing the rollout process. So that's kind of exciting there. And I'll pass it back to Adam, do you have anything in the rolling out category you like?
Not really. Someone should talk about the collaboration experience in Word, but I'll let one of you guys talk about it this morning. Else wheelhouse.
I'll mention something, but it's not going to be that one because this other one just kind of, it's like, oh, that's cute. And that is image light boxes. So a lot of times when you're out on a site and you click on an image, it kind of gives you a bigger version of the image so you can see it better, and everything in the background kind of grays out until you close that, and then it goes back to the page. SharePoint's getting the same thing. Yay. So if you have an image in an image web part out there and you click on it, it's going to expand that out, gray the background of the screen. And then when you're done, you can click it, it closes, and life's grand. So it's kind of a stupid thing, but it's, as Jen would say,
I don't think it's stupid at all. I don't think it's stupid at all.
Well, the comments one that Adam was talking about is really cool. It's happening across PowerPoint, Word, and Excel. And it's on our roadmap twice because it's actually rolling out in April and in May. So it's going to be to both tenants, right? Like, so enterprise tenant and then DoD and GCC high, but it's going to be for comments. So let's say I open a Word document or a PowerPoint or whatever, and I want to comment in it, and I say, hey, Tom, and I mention, and I do an @Tom. Well, immediately right now, it sends me an email. And then I go like 3 paragraphs later, and I'm like, hey, @Tom. And then it sends them another email. Well, that's really annoying to Tom because it would make much more sense if while I had the whole document open and I was doing a whole session, it combined all my comments and sent Tom one email and said, hey, Tom, here's all of Jennifer's comments for you to review in one spot versus like 6 emails. So it's just a better experience for that happening there. So it's a good improvement there. So I'm excited about that one coming out. So that's going to be a great experience for people working together. Kind of like one of those that, wow, that would have been cool if it worked that way all along. And you don't even really know it's a problem until you experience the opposite of it and you get like a bunch of emails because someone's taking too long to review the comments.
I like it.
All right. Well, if anyone has anything else in rolling out, we can go there. Otherwise, Tom, you can take us to launched.
Wow, it's a special day for me today.
I know, you guys go first all the time.
So as normal with launched, a lot of these things we've talked about before, and it seems like Adam's got a ton of geeky things that he's going to be able to touch on where he got nothing in the last section. But the one thing that I really liked because it's hit our tenant, and I think it's a really cool feature, and that is when you have a SharePoint list, you now can comment on the list items. So much like you can comment on a Word document or something like that, now if you have a SharePoint list out there, there's a little comment icon that you can click on and it pops up the side panel that allows you to type in your comment. That comment then becomes part of that list item. And I think that's really nice because all of a sudden you can have some back and forth discussion on a list item that stays within the context of that particular list item. Now, you need to keep in mind that that comment area isn't a field in the list item that you can then pull in and do things with. It's stored like in the general behind the scenes structure of the list and the list item. So don't get really excited thinking, hey, look, I've got a comment field built into every list item. You can comment on every list item. It's just not a field in your list. But having said that, I think it's really cool now that you can put comments on things, call things to people's attention, all those cool things you've been able to do with comments and Word and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
A user told me that when they were exporting, they exported a Microsoft list and they couldn't get the comments to come over. So when you're exporting it, it's exporting the columns and the data that's in the columns. Understand what Tom said is that this comment is not a column, so it's not going to export for you.
Exactly.
But I can see at some point that might end up changing if people have enough, outcry and it hits user voice and stuff like that. But still, it's a good feature as it is.
Absolutely. Adam, I think I'm going to pass it to you because there is a lot of Adam-esque stuff in this category today.
Sure. So I'm going to break it down into 2 sections. So I'll do one of them now, then I can revisit the other one.
Awesome.
So Microsoft Information Protection got several updates. To give you a high-level overview without getting too nerdy into it, one of them I think is really cool. It's the idea that they're basically going to give you an overview of your data classification analytics for everything that's going on, specifically for GCC. So this is going to kind of give you a summary of where you have labels applied, where you're looking for sensitive information, kind of give you an overview of where your data is stored. This is actually really useful, right? Most of the people that are going to be heavily using these features have compliance reasons why they're going to be going through and using them. So it's kind of nice to know that the policies you're putting in place are being used properly and it's covering what you need to do. So what this is going to give you is kind of the bird's eye view of what's going on in your system, which I thought was cool. The 2 other updates that I'm going to mention for Microsoft Information Protection, one, they're going to simpler model for data confidence levels for classification. So if you have sensitive information types and you're saying, how likely is this a credit card number? Well, right now it's a number between 1 and 100 on how confident they are that it is. And you can micromanage like, okay, well, if it's an 80, I want you to do it, but if it's a 79, I don't. And that's always kind of hard to understand because there's just so much variance there. So we're going to a much simpler medium, low, and high on how confident they are that the message matches a sensitive information type. And then finally, this is something that I definitely could have used this week. They're going with the idea that you can copy sensitive information types that you've built out custom on your own. So right now, if you're going through and you've built out sensitive information type that's good for your company that you use, and you want something like that, but it's slightly tweaked, you have to reinvent the whole wheel and do everything from scratch again. But now they're going to basically let you copy over what you've done, make slight tweaks to it, give it a new name, and be good.
Nice.
That's awesome. Well, Microsoft To Do is going to have a web app available to GCC. So that's coming now. So I know that they are excited. It's not coming now. It's launched in GCC. So I know that they've been excited about that. So that's available. So that's awesome. How about you, Tamara? You have anything exciting in this category this time?
I'm a little geeky. So
I love
information governance, a new retention engine for SharePoint Online. So there's a new retention engine for SharePoint Online, which addresses the challenges with large tenants or tenants that have to process a large volume of data. So it's also going to enhance reliability and the SLAs for retention. So I think that's important.
Very cool. Very cool. I'll do one more and then pass it back to Adam. So for Outlook for Android, and then I believe there was one more spot where you could do it. Yeah, Outlook for iOS. You're going to be able to book a physical workspace. And what this really means is they're going to be able to go into your system and set up physical workspaces at your office, and you're going to be able to reserve them like you would a conference room. So with COVID and every one of us going back to a hybrid work environment now. There might be times where you need to reserve a workspace because they need to cut down on the people in the office. And so you're going to be able to set it up in Exchange so that people can go in and reserve those physical workspaces, and then they'll know if they're going to be occupied or not. And so that's a way that we can take care of that now. So I'm happy to see that launched up there now. It should help us get back to those hybrid workspaces. So that is launched now and available. So we'll pass it back to Adam, who can close us out with the rest of the geeky ones.
Yeah, so there was one in particular that I thought was really cool that honestly I hadn't heard a lot about before, but reading a little bit about it and doing a little bit of Googling before we got on. They have what they call M365 Informed Network Routing, which is SD-WAN integration. So this is kind of a cool concept. What it basically is a way that you can improve connectivity to Microsoft endpoints. So think about if you've ever had problems with your users' Outlooks getting connected up or Word connecting for, how every single time you launch the M365 Office suite, it tries to connect to the Microsoft servers and validate that you have a valid licenses and stuff. Sometimes I've had real struggles with clients going through and doing that, especially clients that maybe have a lockdown or a robust network on their side. So basically what Informed Network Routing is it's a feature that's going to integrate various Microsoft applications. So again, think about the Words and the stuff like that with third-party software defined network solutions to try to optimize and improve your network connectivity to those Microsoft endpoints. So I almost see this as like, and this is not really a straight one-to-one analogy, but I almost see this as like ExpressRoute Lite. Like you don't have to go through and drop thousands and thousands of dollars to do an express route, which would have been a direct tunnel into the Microsoft ecosystem. But this is a way to ensure and reinforce connectivity from your office into the Microsoft system, which I can tell you guys, whenever you're trying to deal with connectivity problems and stuff like that, all that really matters is getting into the Microsoft network. And once you do that, it's going to be quick and it's going to work well. So the fact that they're putting tools out there for companies and businesses from their internal networks to improve that connectivity, I think that's a wonderful move in the right direction. I like that it looks like this is just something they're offering to people with M365. You don't have to drop thousands and thousands of dollars and stuff to do it. So kind of cool to see. And as someone who has to troubleshoot these issues fairly often, I think it's just going to be another tool in our tool set to make it a little bit easier for us.
Cool.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, closing out the show today, there's really no need to talk about the canceled because the 2 canceled items are just repeats of other items, so they don't matter. They are but insignificant things. So that is our show today. So it's been a blast hanging out with everybody. We will catch up next week for sure on the next episode of The Pulse. And how exciting. So thanks everybody for joining us, and we shall see you next week. Thanks.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Night.
Thanks. Bye-bye.